My name is Rachel Collison. I'm from Nifty Communications, and this is, I believe, the 8th episode of Leaders Insights that we've had on IsoNation. IsoNation is a community that's been set up to help like-minded business professionals during this time of lockdown and beyond. So we really want to grow this community. So if you're watching now, what I'd love for you to do is give us a thumbs up, give us a love heart if you want to, thumbs up, lots of likes and shares, and then we can get as many people involved in this community and really grow this community. So that would be awesome. Today we have a very special guest. We're joined by James Thomas, who's from D&T Chartered Accountants. Now, I got introduced to James through Julie Clabby, who is the founder of Busy Lizzie. So if you saw that interview a few weeks ago, this is how this business community is working. We're getting in touch with other people, we're growing our community, and Julie very kindly introduced us to James. So James, welcome to IsoNation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us on here. It's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of background about yourself, and also about D&T, because I hear that you do things a little bit differently to most accountants. So I'd love to hear.
We like to think so, yeah, absolutely. So I'm James Thomas, as you said. I'm commercial manager at D&T. So I head up our business development and marketing teams there. So that's going out, being the kind of face of the company, speaking to our clients, listening to what they have to say, and then translating that into a strategy and support that we can offer back to them. And that filters through the marketing as well. So it's making sure that we're the brand image and the company that they need from us at any one time. Previously to D&T, I've had lots of varied experience. So I started my own business about 10 years ago, which was a cafe in Oxford. I ran that for a few years along with my sister. So we started that up from scratch and made a lot of mistakes along the way, did our own business plans, applied for finance, run the business and everything that's involved in running your own company. When the local shopping mall there ended up knocking it all down, we called it a day and went our separate ways and did different things. From there, I was an operations manager for a franchise business. So similar, like you said, to Julie, who was on previously. So I was worked as part of a franchisor operations team. And then from there, I came across to D&T. So my experience up until then had taken me through most of the things that our clients go through. So we're, as you said, a chartered accountants. We support about 2,500 clients across the UK and about 100 franchisors. We're not solely a franchisor business. We do have independents in there as well, but it does make up a primary amount of our client base. So my experience from running my own company and then moving across to a franchise side of things as well, it's given me a lot of insight and empathy to what a lot of our clients are going through. D&T as a business, sorry, do you want to?
No, carry on.
I was going to say D&T as a business. So we're historically a chartered accountants, have been so for over 20 years. We have in the last 2 years split off the functions that we're able to support our clients into 3 distinct areas. So it's really kind of adapting what we're already providing, but giving it a bit more of a brand identity and feel to it. And that is our funding. So it's business planning, startup finance and brokerage with the banks. The accountancy, as you'd expect from chartered accountants, and advisory services. So that's encompassing any kind of support that your business may need. A lot of what we'll be talking about today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's nice coming from a background with a mixture of different industries. Yeah. And actually, wouldn't it be tricky if you still had your cafe at this time? That's an industry that I really do feel for. And also, it's something that so many of us are really missing, that the social interaction you get going for a coffee, meeting up with colleagues or friends out of the office. And that industry, hospitality, unfortunately, it's just so hard hit. And actually, they're finding ways of pivoting their businesses, aren't they? Lots of like local delis or cafes or restaurants or I don't know, other places. They're putting together, I don't know, recipes online, or buying, you know, coffee direct from them that you can make your own as your barista would have. And all of these like really interesting and creative ideas that they're having to come up with because it's so hard for that industry.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, it doesn't, I don't envy businesses at the moment. It's an incredibly challenging time. And I know we would have been hanging on to the skin of our seats and speaking to the likes of myself had we still had our cafe open at this point. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of support out there. It's not all doom and gloom. Obviously, the government's making huge strides to support businesses and making sure that, like you said, they're not having to make those critical business decisions where it's okay, do we stay open? Do we continue running this, or do we have to face the facts and make a unwanted decision, shall we say?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. We've got a few shout outs to say hello to people. Linda, Christian, Bethany have all sort of given us a comment. Thanks guys for watching. Do keep liking and sharing this video so that we can grow the audience and the business community that get to see this, and also people that can ask James some questions directly, as that's why we have him here live on Facebook. So Linda's actually commented that it's great to hear sort of stories from people when you've had quite an eclectic or random business experiences, but then come together to obviously make what you're doing right now your real asset to your clients.
It's unbelievable, really, because when I think back to it and I think about my role now, it's a perfect amount of experience to have all the empathy that our clients are going through and be able to turn it around and give them support that necessarily I didn't have at that point. And what I've seen from other businesses that we work with. So you couldn't have written it, really. So it's given me great insight and, like I said, a lot of empathy, because it's not a case of being removed from your clients. You feel for the situation, and I know a lot of the times it's things that I've been through myself. So
yeah. And do you think sometimes you know, independent business owners or small business owners, at whichever size they are sometimes not, obviously they're not sure of what support is out there, but also they don't necessarily come to an organization like yours to ask for help? Sometimes people do try and kind of plow ahead on their own, coming up with everything and not really fully utilizing resources that are there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of layers to that question, really. I think one, there's the businesses out there that might not necessarily know that the support is available to them, and if they do know that it's out there, they may not know how to access it and who's the best people that's not going to take advantage of their situation and potentially charge them more than they ought to. So there's that. There's also there's a pride element there as well, that people who start their own business, there's a huge amount of drive and creativity, and you're behind your brand, you're behind your business, you want it to succeed in your way. And it can also be seen as maybe a failure in your system and failure in your own business, that you have to go and ask someone for help, which says, you know, is not the case. It's many businesses, and the best businesses are ones that know when they need help and know who to reach out to and which areas they need support in. And none more so than franchise businesses, because they're not necessarily people from a business background per se, or someone who's built it from the ground up. They tend to be people who've had enough of having an employment structure, want to go their own, but want a bit of structure and support around the business that they're creating. So a franchise model is a perfect solution for them. And like I said, most of our clients are franchisees, franchise businesses who have come from that background. So they've got the structure in place. They may love working with children, as Busy Lizzie do, or it could be a cafe shop similar to what mine was. But they may have a strong marketing background, but have never looked at the finances, never done their own accounting. So that's where we can step in and help, or vice versa. If they need support in how to market the business, we can help out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi to Natalie, hi to Shinny as well. They've given us a wave and sharing the interview. Thank you, guys. So just going back to this situation that we find ourselves in, and the businesses are finding themselves in now. I mean, we're actually, I've got it up here. We are, that's that side. Day 39 of of being working from home. Basically, we call it, says quarantine up there, we call it lockdown in the UK. So it's officially day 39 since the government announced that people should stay at home if they possibly can and work from home if they possibly can. It's the 6th week actually. And I think people are feeling it a little bit more at the moment. What was your kind of, oh my goodness, OMG moment when you realised that the ramifications of coronavirus were going to have a serious impact on businesses?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of layers to that. We as a business, we were gearing up to it for a few weeks before anyway, just making sure that our 50 plus team can still do their work and access our clients and support our businesses. So in the back of our mind, we knew that this was coming. We knew that we had to prepare. So we're putting in the steps so that people could take the computers home, so work from home as they normally would. But at the same time, like we mentioned before we started, there's a degree of separation where you know it's going to happen. You start to prepare for it, but then you can never quite be fully prepared for when it does actually take effect. And I know myself, usually I work from home anyway, in the office maybe 2-3 times a week. But from having that mix and different client interactions to solely work from home it's a huge shock to the system, especially for those that are living on their own or don't have people close by that they can talk to or get access to. I think there's a huge mental health aspect there and making sure that you stay sane and don't go stir crazy more than anything. And, work is a key part of that. So what we've been doing from day one is just keeping in constant contact with both our team, my personal team, as well as the wider business, just making sure everyone's okay, everyone's speaking to each other a lot, because you take for granted that you can't just turn to the person next to you and ask them a silly question or take that strain off to laugh at if you're having a stressful day. So it's really looking out for your team and calling them when necessarily you would normally drop them a message or an email. So I think just the ongoing challenge of staying sane, like I said, is a key aspect of what we're having to face at the moment. Another area as well is we're, again, when it kind of hammers home, is as many businesses have at the moment, have had to make a decision on whether you furlough employees. And I think when I started having those discussions with the management team about what we need to do and what we need to prepare for the long-term protection of the business, that's, again, when it starts to affect people that you know and care about within your team, it's a different challenge altogether, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because obviously you were advising those clients about furloughing, again, a word we had never heard of before the situation, and now we can't stop saying. And then obviously affecting your own team personally. I had some stats actually through from our local Chamber of Commerce here in Hereford and Worcestershire, which was quite interesting, I thought. In our local area, there's about 47% of businesses have had to furlough a proportion of their workforce. And the national picture is actually a lot higher. It's at 76% of businesses have furloughed a proportion of their staff. Does that surprise you? Or is that what you would?
No, I mean, it doesn't really. And to be honest, like you said, I think it wouldn't surprise me if it actually comes out a little bit higher over the next few weeks. Certainly amongst our clients that we're supporting, they have to take those steps, because where you're not able to get access to your clients and you normally would, you have to start thinking about essential personnel to the business and who necessarily doesn't have the opportunity to do their work as they normally would. I mean, for us, we've part of my role is to go out, speak to clients, lots of face-to-face meetings to win new business, which a lot of that has been stymied at the moment. So when you have to look at whose work is most affected, you have to take that into consideration. So I think it's been pragmatic and thinking about long-term situations. You have to make those decisions as soon as possible, because realistically, we're looking at this for for the next few months to some degree, for a slightly less degree, probably going into next year. So you have to take that long-term solution, because this isn't going away. And I think people are starting to come to terms with that.
Yeah, James, I think that's right, because I think initially when things happened and we had the initial 3 weeks and then let's review the situation, business people were very much taking it day by day, step by step. Okay, not necessarily wanting to rush into any major decisions, but seeing how things were going to unfold. And now, like I say, we're in the 6th week. We don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't look like things are going to get back to normal anytime soon. And there's going to obviously be a much longer impact on businesses. So it's actually kind of like at this time that people need to know what is available to them, need to know what support there is to continue their businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a first couple of steps that we've been advising to all of our clients at the moment, is to take stock of your business, look at all your assets and liabilities, work together for a crisis management plan. I mean, that's integral at this time, because you can't blindly go through and assume things are going to be all right, because, like I said, this isn't going to be 6 weeks, this isn't going to be a couple of months, this is going to be, like I said, to some degree for the rest of the year. So you need to start planning for that. And mitigating for the worst case scenario, so that you're here next year and able to weather the storm. And part of that is looking at your team, looking at who can work, who needs to work, and starting to make those critical decisions to ensure your long-term strategy. We've been helping a lot of our clients with cash flow forecasts as well. Which again is an essential at this point. Not only if you need to apply for some of the loans and support that you need through HMRC or the government or the banks, but also so you know exactly how long you can weather the storm, and when you need to apply for more capital is going to be key for those businesses that are going through tough times at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, just a reminder, if you are watching now, please could you like and share this video into some of maybe your business networking groups that you're part of online, even on your own timeline, so that your friends can see that you're watching this, and they'll also be able to see what we're doing here at IsoNation and join our business community. So please do, sorry to keep saying it, but please do like and share the video as we go along, and also post your questions to James. And James, I have had a question from Natalie here, who is self-employed herself with no other employees, and she's actually had to close down her business and clear out of her premises for 6 months because she works closely with clients. How should she address this with her customers to kind of keep in her mind's eye of her customers, I guess, but obviously she's not going to be able to provide her services for the next 6 months?
Yeah. So there's a number of really inventive ways, which not necessarily we've come up with, but that we've seen from clients that we work with. And I think it's about being creative and thinking about how you can still access and maintain those relationships in different ways. Like I said, I myself would normally have lots of face-to-face meetings, go to forums, conferences, and have a physical presence to promote our business and talk about who we are. But where I'm not able to do that, we're switching things up and looking at webinars. So we're still able to get access to a huge proportion of our clients. We can still give support and advice out as we can, and just to have that social interaction. Businesses at the moment are clawing to get as much advice, support, and just have a friendly person to speak to more than anything, so that they can talk about not necessarily always things that we can help out with, but just to vent a bit of steam. And that's what we're doing a lot of. There's also some great things that some of the franchise networks that we're working with are doing, where they're class bases. So they've been turning those all onto online courses, and actually have managed to grow their business from what it was previously. So they've had physical classes where they have, say, 20 children in a class, but online they're getting subscriptions to buy the classes from them internationally, for one. So it's broadened it from a local district, but also into hundreds of people. So it's about thinking about how you can access your client base, being a bit creative, and almost doing a profile of who your client is. Maybe a couple of people, where they receive their media, what they're looking at on a day-to-day basis, and how can you still interact and have a touchstone with them? Because that's what people are doing, and it's not necessarily purely emails. It can be through social media. It can be all sorts. So yeah, there's lots of ways you can do it, but like I said, it depends on the business more than anything, and what you're still able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. And again, from a marketing and communications point of view, it is to keep communicating with your customers. You are still there. They are still there. It's just the fact that you can't necessarily meet face to face at the moment. So maybe there's some top tips that you can share to your clients, and just to keep that conversation going, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't always have to be work related as well. We're, like I said, everyone's stuck at home. Everyone's starved of social contact that they would normally have. And sometimes a friendly face, whether it's a class that you used to go to, or a business or a coffee shop that you always used to go to, just touching base, and just something irrelevant and unrelated to actually a sales pitch. It's just a hello, we're still here. I can't wait to get you back. And these are some of the silly things that we've been getting up to in isolation. Whether it's one of those TikTok dances or whatever it may be, just something that they smile at, and it builds a personal aspect to your business as well as just a commercial one.
Yeah, definitely. So just going back to you guys, your teams, what's been the biggest impact so far for you? I think when we've had a little chat off air as well, and you said that actually in some ways there's a lot of work going on because you've got certain things that customers need, your clients need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So as our kind of cornerstone of the work that we're doing is core compliance for HMRC. So end of year tax returns, business accounts, bookkeeping, bank reconciliations. All of that work is still required. Whether your business is wound down and they're not able to get access to as many of their clients, we still have to complete our compliance with HMRC. So we're still doing everything that we normally would, as well as supporting clients in creating business plans, cash flow forecasts for any loans that they require. And we've got our tax team at the moment just constantly tapped into BBC News, watching the updates at 5, just trying to translate, understand as much of the government advice that's being put out there, and translate it in a way that we can project that to our clients. Because there's so much chatter across all mediums at the minute. What we're trying to do is become a source of information that people can digest and understand and relate to their own business. So we as a team are coming up with creative ways to interpret that information and put it into different aspects rather than just a dossier that we've been getting. It's okay, how does this affect my business? What support's available? And then communicating that out to all our clients. So again, like I said, touchstones for us, but also making sure that they know what support's available, because they make our business. So we need to make sure that they survive as much as anyone. So in a lot of aspects, our workload's increased because we've got our standard work as well as all these additional bits and pieces which we're able to be gatekeepers for, I suppose.
Yeah. And are you literally getting the information from the daily briefings as well, or do you get information in another way that you can relay to your clients?
There's various different avenues that we're receiving information. So we're partial to accountancy newsletters and briefings that we get from HMRC Direct, just as being an accountant. We have been looking at lots of government advice and things that are being released through the briefings and thereafter, and running through the at times long dossiers of support that's available, T's and C's, and able to translate that into what it means for our business, like I said, because sometimes a lot of businesses aren't necessarily, they won't know how to interpret or understand that information. So it's a case of breaking it down, putting it in different formats, so that depending on your learning style or how you personally interpret information, you can select and choose which one works best for you and make it make sense. Or when that's not possible, we ask clients to contact us and say, look, tell us what your pains are, what you're struggling with. We'll let you know what support's available, and sometimes do the applications for you. So there's a whole loads of different ways that we're able to do that.
Yeah, and from the support that the government are getting, Linda's just made a point on the comments that actually accountants are a good source of information, as they often produce simplified bulletins. So if people have heard something on the news or something from the daily briefings, but they're unsure what that means for them or which category they fall into, often it's a good idea to take a look at a website like your own, where you will try and therefore make it more clear to people what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I've been quite keen on doing is not just copying and pasting what we've got from the government. We've certainly got links to gov.uk on our website for more detail, but what I'm looking to do is turn it into a different format, and like I said, producing it in a different way so that our clients can understand it. We've done things from diagrams asking questions from what is your business? Is it a limited company, sole trader, self-employed? And then that splits down, and then it gives you a idea of what support you should be going for, who should be contacting for help. So little things like that, rather than putting it all up there and leaving it for them to go, okay, what do I do here?
Well, like you said, it is a bit rabbit in headlights, and it's such an unprecedented situation for everybody to be in that it can feel like, what is the best thing for me? And we've actually had a question come through before we started from somebody that we've mentioned off air about this. There are a couple of people that fall through the gap on what support's been given with the government. So this person said, I'm a director who receives their income as dividends throughout the year. And if I had a salary under new rulings, I understand that I could now receive furlough pay. Can I claim anything?
So there's not a huge amount of support at the moment. And again, it's one of those things where we as accountants have been advising clients for decades to, if you're a director of the business, not to take a full salary, because it's not the most tax efficient way for you to take earnings out of the business. So as a dividend system, we're in a situation now where that has bit everyone in the arse, because we're now you have to be the government support of furlough is 80% of your salary, not any drawings that you take from your business normally. So I think it's 8,000-9,000, which we'd recommend as a minimum to take out, or maximum, sorry, to take out, which 80% of that these people can't live on. So it's certainly challenging, and at the moment, as far as I'm aware, there isn't advice to actually help businesses or directors with that furloughed payments. What the advice we've been giving is you need to look at other ways to get capital in your business if you need to take that additional revenue out. And there's a few different ways you can do this. Again, it comes back to the cash flow forecast. It's so integral to do that, to work out your own drawings and what you need to survive. And then you can start dialing it back into how long you need that support balloon there for you. So there's things like the C-bills, which is by the British Bank and being held up by major high street banks like HSBC and Lloyds. There's also the bounce back loan, which has been introduced this week, which is for small businesses who need capital, under 50,000.
Yeah.
And then there's overdraft facilities as well, which all the banks that we work with or partnered with have been saying, if you can, increase your overdraft as an initial step, because that's the quickest way to get capital. C-bills is quite a long drawn out process. Obviously, there's no guarantee, as we've heard in media, that you'll be able to get access to the funds if they don't feel that you're a viable, safe bet for them for their capital investment. Yeah. So so it's a bit of a challenging one at the minute, especially for directors. But I think.
Do you think the government might make some other decisions or some resource for this group of people, because it's affecting a lot of people?
I think they will do. They have to at a certain point. I think what they're trying to do is make sure, as with all the things that they've introduced so far, is that there's not going to be people that take advantage of the situation. Yeah. And like we spoke before, I think a couple of years from now, when we start seeing documentaries and scandals and things that went on during this period, there's going to be tons that come out of people that have abused the system. What they're trying to do, and rightly so, is make sure that they're covering as much loopholes as possible, so that businesses that don't need the capital or have been able to profiteer from this situation aren't taking money that otherwise could be used for other businesses. So I think it probably will come, and in the next couple of weeks, but it's still very much unknown at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some great tips and things that you've been saying there, James. So if you are watching, please do like and share into any groups that you're part of that are really going to benefit. And Gemma's made a comment that this information is really invaluable for people with small businesses. So if you know of anybody that's running their own business, please do tell them about this interview. Like, share it now, comment, and we'll grow the community and grow the people that are able to access this information and to meet James in this interview. Thank you very much. I've had another question come through, actually. Let me just find that one. So this person says, we've not made a claim as we hope to sell the business when all this is over. I think that was in the plan anyway, but are nervous that any of the loans available might be shown on a credit check and would make the business look weaker if they had taken out a loan at this time. What do you think about that?
So there's a couple of things there. Any loan that you do take out, if it hasn't been repaid by the time you sell your business, you need to recuperate that in the sale price. So it would, in essence, devalue it to a certain extent. But then if you're unable to sustain your business operations until next year or a time when you're able to sell, then you've lost your entire asset rather than partial of it. So I think it'd be a case of looking at what options are available, looking at how much capital you need, and whether it's speaking to us or your accountant or another business advisor, and looking at the best options forward. And again, that's going to be a business plan, a map of steps to take, especially if coming to sell a business. A lot of the time we speak to clients who don't necessarily plan for it long term. They may well wake up one day and go, you know what, this is too hard work, or I'm not loving it, or I want to sell my business. Call us up and say, I want to sell it now or in the next couple of months. When actually the roadmap, the steps to take to sell your business should really be 2 to 3 years, because to maximize your total asset, you need to start undoing all the things that you've been doing with your accountant, tax efficiencies, and maximizing your gross profit margin, so that when you come to do the multiplier, you're multiplying, you've got full visibility of all the profits within the business. So there's a couple of bits there. I would say work with someone to do a business plan, cash flow forecast, look at what you necessarily need to survive in the coming months, and then look at what options are available. Overdraft facilities one, which wouldn't necessarily affect any kind of credit rating, but like I said, unless you're doing, depending on whether you're doing an asset sale or a share sale, you'd need to pay off that debt anyway, or make the buyer aware if it's still within the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good advice there. Thank you, James. Just if you've got any more questions for James, do make them in the comments below. I'm just going to move on to some questions I had for you already. So what do you think are the benefits that we are seeing and that your clients are seeing at the moment with the current situation? I mean, talking there about maybe thinking ahead, making future plans. Maybe people have got more time, so they're able to do that now. Are those the kind of things that are the benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, like I said, part of my role is to go out, have contact with our clients and just talk through their business pains. And a lot of the time, a lot of the feedback I get at that point is, James, you know what, I'd love to do some of the things that you're suggesting, but I just don't have time. I'm working 72-hour weeks or however long it may be, just putting so much time into the business, working in the business, not necessarily on the business. For a lot of employees, directors, and business owners out there, this is giving you the breadth of space to take a step back and look at the whole company as a whole without having to run it, or at least run it as you normally would. So that can be looking at operational structure, can be look at diversifying your brand and what you're offering. It can be a complete new brand relaunch. So if you've got tired marketing materials or your brand image and logos are a little outdated, why not speak to a marketeer at the moment to look at how you can access your client base in a more refreshed way? And like I said, a lot of what we're doing at the moment is working with clients to do just that. I mean, we're doing it ourselves. Part of my role is marketing, so I'm working with our team to redevelop our marketing materials, brochures, and so that when we're able to launch and go back to business in some form of normality, we've got some great new collateral to be sending out to people and launching new sides of our business. So it's really a time where you can look at your USP, look at what you're currently offering, and adapting it so that it's still relevant. I mean, throughout every business history, there's a point where, well, the likes of, say, Blockbuster, for instance, they never thought that internet movies or internet streaming would ever get to the point that it is. And they were naive in not adapting their USP. They actually had a chance to buy Netflix in the early stages, but refused it. Now, not every business will have something so clear cut as that, but it's a case of looking at what you're offering and how it can adapt and future-proofing yourself now while you have the time. From a selfish point of view as well, as an accountant, we just had financial year end, so why not wait 9 months to send it across to us, send it across now, so that when you go back to business, you don't have to worry about doing your tax returns or speaking to your accountant to get it all prepared. Because in a lot of predictions are that there's going to be a boom in commercial trade to some degree. As soon as we're on out, all you want to do is go to the high street, go to your favourite coffee shop, go buy some new clothes, whatever it may be. But you need to prepare for that so that you've got men on the ground and you're not having to think about other situations like doing your tax returns. Get it done now while you can, while you've got time, so that you're able to devote your whole self, your whole business to getting people through the door.
Yeah, that's very good advice. I think we'll be making a note of that one. How are you keeping your teams motivated at this time?
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, we're doing a lot of calls, a lot of contact with our business. As an entire company, we're doing what we call daily huddles. We're doing them on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We used to do them every day, but we've reduced that down just so that it's still quality interaction with everyone. So we have a whole company catch up. We also have team catch up. So I speak to my team at least twice a week on a meeting. And then every time I want to have a chat to one of my colleagues, I think to myself, can I send this an email or should I give them a call? And a lot of the time it's a video call, something like this, where I can see the face, have a bit of social interaction, talk about some silly things at the beginning maybe, and then discuss business instead of having 10 emails that you're firing back and forth. I think just for a social well-being and a mental health situation, we need as much contact as possible. Like I said, there's some people out there who may well be living on their own or in self-isolation on their own. And it's, I think, unfair to necessarily not be empathetic to their situation. So try and contact and call people as much as possible to keep everyone sane. We're doing lots of fun things, doing little dance videos. We're having drinks on a Friday. So later on this afternoon, it's just a Zoom call. Not to talk about work, it's just to catch up, talk about
what you've been doing.
Your excursions around the house and where you've been on your holidays, up to your bedroom or wherever it may be. But it's just to unwind after a hectic week. So
yeah, absolutely. We've had some nice feedback that you've been given some really helpful tips on the comments there. So thank you. Thanks very much for that. We've probably got just a few more minutes with James. So if you do have any more specific questions that you want to ask him, please write them in the comments. And even if we do miss them in the live, we can always go back to them and find them afterwards. And also do like and still continue to share on your own pages and into your groups as well, so we can get as many people seeing this interview and taking advantage of James's tips as well. So just coming on to the future, we've touched on it a little bit then. When do you think lockdown will end, or how do you think it will end? I think it's becoming more apparent that it's probably going to be in a some kind of staggered approach. But like you're saying there, people will want to just, well, half of people I think will want to rush out and go crazy and go to coffee shops and everything. I think there's a lot of people that are still reserved. They don't want this lockdown to end too soon. When it's not safe to do so, just for the economy. So it's interesting, isn't it, James?
Yeah, there's. I think realistically, lockdown's going to be until at least the end of May. We've made too much progress on all the reports that we're getting from the government for it not to go on that long. I think what they're trying to do is get to a situation where they don't have to do a second lockdown.
Yeah.
So they're eking it out now for as long as possible, so that when we can go back to business, or when we can go out as to some degree as we normally would, we don't have a situation in December or November time where we have to go back into lockdown because the virus is starting to spread again. So I think realistically it's going to be until at least the end of May, maybe a couple of weeks into June. And then when we are released, it'll be a relaxation of some of the strictures in place. So small groups, like we mentioned, have a circle of people, 10 people, which you're allowed to interact with, but not to again cross-pollinate with lots of different people at any time. I don't think we're going to have any major events taking place. So where you have large crowds of people, gigs, concerts, football events this year. I think that's going to be pushed until next year, just because there's too much, like I said, chance of the virus spreading again. In terms of business, at a certain point, they need to start weighing up the long-term effects on the economy. We've got ourselves in a situation where almost it's like a wartime situation, where business globally has ground to a more or less halt. We're not able to contact and grow the economy as we normally would. Obviously, there's so much strain being put on finances across businesses and as a country. So at a certain point, there needs to be weighed up when that kind of critical mass situation happens, and we do need to go back just to ensure that we're able to stay moving forward as an economy as well, and fiscally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you might have touched on it earlier, but sort of how long do you think that we will be feeling the impact of this in terms of business?
For a long time, probably next decade to some degree, as an economy. Actual businesses themselves, I mean, depending on how much you've had to borrow, you should be able to bounce back relatively quickly. We've got clients that we're working with that are having to take 40, 50 grand loans to stay afloat in these coming months. But once they're able to start operation as normal, they'll be able to quickly clear those debts as long as their business is strong enough to do so. But like I said, the banks are making sure that with any applications they're accepting, that they're not putting the business at any undue risk and not being able to pay those repayments back when they're able to. So, but long-term effects on the UK as an economy is going to be far-reaching. And at the moment, until we know exactly how long this goes on for, it's going to be quite hard to put your finger on how long that's going to be. But I'd say at least for the next decade, we're going to be feeling the effects of this to some degree.
Yeah. Linda's made a comment that she thinks most businesses would like more visibility to help them with their planning to get back. I made a note of that actually earlier as well. It's as if we're sort of being told, drip fed the next few weeks and the next few weeks, almost potentially giving false hope for businesses. I think to know, and how you've spoken so frankly about, actually, guys, it's going to be at least 6 months that we'll be in this, immediate position. We don't think there's going to be any big gatherings, events for them, until the end of the year. Actually knowing those things would help a lot of businesses at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, it comes down to that crisis management. What we're doing and what we're advising a lot of businesses, take that kind of, okay, what's the effects of if this happens until the end of summer, say we're in lockdown or unable to go back to normal business situation, as you say, how much do we need to stay afloat? Now, the government loans and bounce back loans that are available are 12% interest and payment free. So if you need the capital, you can get the loans made available to you, and whether it's a case of you use it or not, it's there as a cushion. Let's say if it goes on for another couple more months than we necessarily want it to. Now you have to be careful there, because the banks are only accepting loans when you actually need them. But if you start building out a pipeline and cash flow forecast, you can adjust when you take that loan out. So that, like I said, the plan is there, is ready to go. It's just a case of when you apply it. So it's again, having that kind of preparedness, speaking to your accountant, looking at cash flow forecasts really is integral to figure out where your pinch points are, and at what point you need to access that money. Because if, say, best case scenario, we go back to business tomorrow, that's still a useful document to be adapted and used as a growth platform. So, okay, right, this is where we are. This is what we need to do to get back up to the levels of turnover that we're at. So that cash flow forecast can be turned into a growth development plan for when you're back into business.
Yeah, would definitely not be wasted anyway. Touching like sort of final point really from me was, we've talked a bit at the beginning about the furloughing, and obviously in the media there was Victoria Beckham got some negative comments about furloughing her staff. I think it was Duncan Ballantyne that said, well, hang on a minute, I took out a loan for my, to do this rather than ask the government for help. So it's a bit difficult, isn't it? Some people are sort of saying you should do one way or the other, or why should you get this offered to you when you're a millionaire, or all of these kind of questions that are up in the air at this time.
It's one of those things that whatever Victoria Beckham or whoever's in the public spotlight, there's going to be someone that criticizes it to some degree. I think, like I said, as a business, you've got to make the most practical decision that you need to survive. I can't necessarily comment on that one, but I think what we've been saying to our clients is don't get money if you don't need it. Don't furlough staff if you don't need to. Support the economy as best you can, and but not in the detriment to your own business. So it's really, like I said, don't abuse the system if you can help it. And if you're unsure, speak to someone who can break it down for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. That's why we've created IsoNation as well, to be a support for people, where we can have, excuse me, these open discussions, and where we can get some useful insight and share our own experiences, because we're all trying to continue working to keep our own businesses going, to keep the economy going, and hopefully be in a position to survive this situation and potentially thrive at the end if we use time wisely.
What I think would be really interesting after all this happens is just look at the long-term effects of how we do business. So at the moment, we're in I hate to use the word because it's been oversaturated recently, but unprecedented situation where a global workforce has been mandated to work from home, more or less. Now, it doesn't take much for any MD or a business owner to go, hang on, I've got all of my workforce working from home, still able to access our clients, do the work as they normally would. Why do I need to have that huge outlay for an office space when we've proven that this works in a completely remote situation? Now, I'm not saying that every business is going to go and get rid of their office space, but I think it'll make them rethink and redefine how they use that space. So whether they reduce it down, use it for hot desking or only meeting space only, and have predominantly people working from home. But then just that decision in itself creates a knock-on effect for office real estate. And you could potentially see a lot of businesses go under who are in the real estate market, who have lots of businesses pulling out of their office. We've also seen as well other larger brands who are able to capitalize. Amazon have taken on over 100,000 new staff to manage and deal with the increased demand. But this time next year, all those profits that Jeff Bezos is going to have is going to give him capital to reinvest and purchase other businesses. So whether it's warehouses, manufacturers or suppliers, and it's going to make him a much bigger monopoly or oligopoly of a superpower, basically. So you're going to see businesses capitalizing who have been able to profit from this and buying out their competition. So it's going to be an incredibly interesting landscape we find ourselves in, and just like I said, people taking advantage of the business that's available.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, James. I think we will round it off then, because we've just getting into over time. We've had some great questions from people. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for your questions. And thank you, James, for being part of IsoNation and the Leaders Insights interview series. Please do continue to like and share this interview so that we can grow the reach of it, so more people can join our community. Is there anything you want to add, James?
No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for inviting me to this. It's been great to be a part of it, and hopefully there's lots of tips and things there for other people to take away. Or feel free to contact us if you need a bit more advice. More than happy to help out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.